Hello everybody, I'm Jmulls of Jmulls Gaming, and it's time to give a beginner's guide. It's more like what you should expect out of Xenoblade Chronicles X, because this is one of my favorite games of all time, and it's one of my favorite Xenoblade games of all time. But a lot of people haven't played it because it was on the Wii U of all things, that ancient alien technology. But with how popular Xenoblade has become, people want to play Xenoblade Chronicles X. This mysterious, shiny experience they haven't been able to touch yet. They've heard so much about it, they want to sink their teeth and claws into it and drain it of all the delicious skell juice. But I want to do right by one of the most important games in my life. And I think there's going to be a lot of people out there that set themselves up to be disappointed with Xenoblade Chronicles X for whatever reason. And I want to establish this thing called expectations with this video. So let's get into it. And I want to start off with something very important for everyone to just understand. Xenoblade Chronicles X does not, will not play like Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3. There are certain elements that do feel similar, now don't get me wrong, but it is a different style of game. A lot of the appeal of Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3 came from how story-focused and centered those experiences are. That is just simply not the case with X. I think X has a great story, but it isn't the focal point like it is in 1, 2, and 3. With X, the game focuses far more on the gameplay experience, that gameplay loop, feeling like an RPG, the open world navigation and immersion. The game focuses far more on those elements than long cutscenes back to back. Now, the game definitely does have those cutscenes, but they're fewer and more far between than in Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3. And honestly, I think the story in Xenoblade Chronicles X is kind of mid until you get to the halfway point, in which case it just starts to get better and better and better. And then I think by the end of the game, I like it just as much as 1, 2, and 3, but it does take some investments and time to get there. It is one of those experiences where it's like, yeah, sure, this is really great after episode 50. It's kind of one of those. And if you only care about the story about a game, well then, you may be disappointed on your initial first impression, but if you stick with it, I think you may be able to find a diamond in the proverbial rough. Because, like I said, the story is pretty slow, and it's interesting, don't get me wrong, but it's not upfront or in-depth like 1, 2, and 3, especially in that first, half, if not 65% of the game. But what it lacks in terms of story and those kinds of elements, it more than makes up for, in my opinion, with side content and the gameplay. Because the gameplay feels more similar to Xenoblade 1 than, say, 2 and 3. You get a swath of arts and that horizontal bar, but like I said, the game focuses more so on that gameplay loop and experience than, say, the story, especially in that first chunk of the game. You'll be exploring Mira, uncovering its secrets, finding a whole bunch of different side content to do, going about the map, putting down your survey nodes, trying to min-max them for passive resource accumulation. If you are familiar with Final Fantasy VIII, with how the higher your seed rank is, the more money you passively accrue after every so-and-so minutes, Xenoblade X kinda works off of that idea, but with multiple resources, and you can min-max what nodes you put on the map in certain locations to accrue even more resources, such as your main currency or Miranium, which is used to purchase and upgrade various shops and stuff like that. You'll be getting to know the combat system, getting to know the class system, upgrading one class to rank 10, then moving on to another class, so on and so forth. Finding and being introduced to new party members, Xenoblade X has a lot of them. And yes, this game has the affinity system, and it is important, arguably more important here than in Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3. Because to unlock the heart-to-heart events, which are like scenarios here, but also affinity quests, which are quests focused and specifically about that affinity character, like an Elma, like your Lins, etc., you need certain ranks in affinity. Generally speaking, at least from my experience, the way you generate that affinity is by simply having those party members in your party and then going to do other stuff with them. But there's more of these affinity quests and heart-to-heart scenarios than you think. Xenoblade X arguably focuses the most on its side content compared to 1, 2, and 3, and if you think it's easy to rack up the hours in Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3, well then X is going to be a wake-up call for a lot of you out there, because there is a lot to do, more than you think there would be. You have your collectopedia, you have an enemy index. You can collect holo figures of various NPCs or just random crap and then display them in your barracks. By the way, the barracks is customizable. There are pets that you can collect and then have out in your barracks. All your party members, even the ones not in your party actively, can have their own skell. You can customize each of the skells, name these skells, change the coloration, but also equip each of these skells with their own parts. You are going to be going around the map, finding survey nodes, and then placing them on the map to discover more and more of the map. You'll be fighting various monsters or enemies to acquire better weapons and skill parts. The game does have an appearance system, so you can swap the appearance of gear to something else that you actively own. They may change this with Definitive Edition, it's something I'm hoping they do, but the way it worked in Xenoblade X was that you can change your piece of gear to look like any other piece of gear that you actively have in your inventory. Change your helmet, your gloves, your chest piece, etc., etc. You can do this for all the party members. Yes, this game has more fashion than Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3, and it's not close. There's a lot of absolutely wild and insane outfits. There's casual wear, there's Guna wear, like bunny outfits or like swimsuits. There's like suits, really cool looking armor. There's a lot. So don't be surprised if in like this first half of the game, you are focusing more so on the side content, on exploring Mira and all of that, than you are necessarily banging out the main story. Because the game is kind of constructed in that regard. You can join various outfits in the game. Pretty much, you can join like this military outfit, and depending upon which one you choose to go with, it'll augment what rewards you the most based on what your favorite activity is. So you can join, say, outfit A if you like collecting nodes around the map, doing stuff like that. I joined the Harriers in my playthrough of Xenoblade X, so I got more things like XP by fighting harder enemies. It's not like the end-all be-all in the world, and I believe you can change out what outfit you're with online, but I think it does require online. They could change this with Definitive Edition, but there's a lot to manage and a lot to keep track of. You'll be leveling up your blade level in accordance and alongside your main level and your rank for your class, and every time you rank up with Blade, which is like the military unit in the game, every time you level up with them, you can upgrade a field skill, like archaeology, biological, etc., which will allow you to loot things around the map that may be locked based on your rank with that field skill. Like I said, there's a lot to this game, and I've dumped hundreds of hours into Xenoblade X, and I don't even know everything there. Because this is also something to bear in mind. Xenoblade X is god-awful when it comes to tutorials. Like, it's just bad, dude. A blind guy could write a better tutorial for a vision test than the tutorials in this game with actually teaching you how it operates. To this day, I'm still not entirely sure how to min-max soul voices, which is a mechanic where when certain parameters are reached, your characters like yell out, and you get different bonuses. It gets in-depth. You don't need to master all of these ideas and mechanics to play the game and to even beat the game. But Xenoblade X is a game that rewards you the more you are willing to invest into it, the more you're willing to learn. Just be prepared to look out for a guide, which I will probably be doing, by the way, wink wink nudge nudge, because there is a lot to this game. And honestly, it can be overwhelming to some people, but my sincerest recommendation would be to just take it slow. Pick something you want to go for and to strive for. It may be, oh, I really like this character, like I really like Elma, I want to do her affinity quests. Well, those affinity quests have prereqs. They may be other quests or an affinity level. Okay, well, I really want to do this, so I'm gonna go out and get those prereqs done. Skells, by the way, are not main story. They aren't. You unlock the ability to go out and grind for your skill after Chapter 6, if I recall correctly. And it is a grind to get your first skill. And then later on down the line, you'll have the ability to upgrade your skills to flight skills. Skells are extremely powerful while you're playing the game, and they're extremely useful. You also use them for navigation and exploring the world, not just in combat. So I would highly, highly recommend getting your skell when you can. And when they start to unlock for you, focusing in on them and getting skills for each of your party members. Xenoblade X, in a lot of ways, is a game that you get what you put into it. And if you want the game to be very surface level, and you don't want to put a lot of effort in, you can get a pleasurable experience out of it. You may not see everything, you may not do everything, but you'll get a good time out of it. And if you really want to get into the weeds of it, if you will, you really want to sink your teeth into it, you want to understand how this game works, how it operates, and you want to get everything out of it, then you can. And in a lot of ways, I think that is worth it. Xenoblade 2 may be my favorite Xenoblade game because of the story and the characters and all that, but Xenoblade X is my favorite Xenoblade game in terms of the actual gameplay. And in terms of being in the world. Oh yeah, by the way, something just to keep in mind, your choices do matter in this game, and there will be various side quests and moments where they go, hey, do you want to do this or this? Yeah, it's not illusion of choice. Some of these choices really do matter, and they can kill characters. Like, one of the most memed on choices in this game is if you want to kill a bunch of piglets. Yeah, that choice does matter, by the way. It does come back. You may not think it will, but funnily enough, they will. And also, some of the dialogue options you can pick in this game are just comical. The game just has a great vibe to it, and I hope that every one of you out there can have just as pleasurable an experience in Mira that I had. And look, I know we're still like months out from the release of Xenoblade X Definitive Edition, but look, quite simply, I love this game. I'm a fan, I'm a stan, I'm whatever you want to call me in regards to Xenoblade X. Xenoblade overall, but especially X. This was a game that sparked my imagination when I was growing up. I fell in love with X. It was the first Xenoblade game I ever played. But I also think it's important to set expectations, because it does play and feel completely differently to Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3. And if you're expecting an experience exactly the same as Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3, you may be shocked and it may be off-putting. But if you go in with the right expectations, maybe you can find yourself having more fun than you would have otherwise. And with that, I'll call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure for making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Stay safe, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody, until we meet again!